Hey guys, I'm Coral. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have the first trope video of 2020, and I feel like I haven't done one in forever, and that's because I haven't. But I will say, my reading has not felt so frantic since I have decided not to do these quite as often. And that kind of makes me sad because I want to do them. Like, if I could do them every month, that would be so fun. But then all I would be reading was books for these videos, and then maybe I wouldn't think that that's so fun. But the trope today, as you might know, is twins. So if you haven't watched one of my trope videos before, basically the idea is to take a common trope in horror, or maybe a common theme or element, or even maybe a thing that I've noticed on book covers that came out during the same time or around the same time. I'm actually going to be doing one of those soon, and I'm very excited about it. But this one is twins. And I also do try to do a mix of like maybe vintage and also more modern, and this one worked out perfectly for that. Some of them don't always, but this one did. I'm gonna start with this one by Patricia Wallace called Twice Blessed. And as we can see, this is a zebra horror book. It has a great cover, a little skeleton nurse with her cute little nurse hat holding two little tiny chubby babies. This story is about a woman, I can't remember her name, it's been a while since I read this. Edana, or Edana, I don't know, Edana Morgan. And she's in a car accident while she's pregnant and her husband is killed. But luckily, they're able to save Edana and the babies. That's like the only thing you get in the beginning. And then it like fast forwards to years later when the children are maybe like 8 or 9 years old. And when Edana is still a single parent, and one morning she hears them arguing upstairs. And the son, Galen, he comes downstairs, leaves the house, and walks in front of a car driving past their house. So she's like, what the fuck? Like, she saw him purposefully, it looked like, walk in front of a car. So he's sent to the hospital, he's in a coma, and that's where there's no more fucking story, basically. It's a lot of, like, I guess, trying to find out why he walked in front of a car, kind of. The mother thinks that maybe the children can communicate in a way that's not verbal. So maybe that has something to do with it. But why would he do this? And his sister seems really nonchalant about it. She's not very worried. She doesn't really want to see him in the hospital. So like, is this something that the sister did? We don't know. We do find out. But it's like very anticlimactic. There's like this weird love interest, kind of. He's very fucking boring. The woman's father-in-law comes and he's like it like almost seems like he's jealous of this maybe suitor. And like the guy who likes Edana, I can't remember his name either, but he just like out of nowhere sees this woman and is like, I love her, you know, that kind of thing. So that's very annoying. And there's a lot of weird prejudices in here. It seemed like, maybe not, I don't know. But there was like one thing that one of the doctors and the nurses said about how like, man, I can't even remember what the conversation was, but it was something about like things that are just common sense. And he's like, you know, fat women never get raped and short men never can command attention. And it's like, what the fuck? So I don't know. There's some of that thrown in, sprinkled in, you know. It is a vintage novel, so can it be vintage if it doesn't have at least one really shitty thing in it? Probably not. The majority of his story takes place while Galen is in a coma, so there's like a lot of medical stuff, and like the medical personnel seem really, really negligent. Like there's this thing that happens in the hospital, and it's like, I guess this book was written in the 80s? 1986, so like very likely the security kind of stuff that we have today in hospitals could be very different, but it just seemed very negligent. And I don't know, it was like there was no story, and in the end I just like didn't care. I would have DNF'd it if I hadn't really wanted to use this for this video. It was just very boring. There were like other side characters and it's like, I'm not really sure why we're following them so much because they ended up having nothing to do with the plot, really. I don't know. It was just not very good at all. I can't recommend this one. Like, it wasn't even good bad. It wasn't funny. It was just not good. Okay, and on to a more modern one. This is The Damned by Andrew Pyper. This is a story of a man named Danny, and he is an author. He's written about an experience he had where he died but was resuscitated and came back to life. And while he was dead, he had this experience, and he thought it was like, I mean, he didn't realize that he was dead when he had this experience, really. So he's brought back to life, and now he has written about this, and he attends kind of meetings and conferences where other people have had near-death experiences. The event that happened where he died is also an event that killed his twin sister, Ash. And since that happened, he's seen Ash in his real life, and she's always been kind of like more corporal and ghost-like, but where we are in the story now in his life, she starts to get like stronger, and at one point she can hold things even. And so he's trying to figure out how she's able to do this all of a sudden. And it also kind of turns into the mystery of how she died. And he thought it had been an accident. I mean, because he was sort of involved in it too. But now he's wondering if someone set her up for this tragedy that happened. It was fairly fast-paced. The characters were all right. He gets into this relationship that seems very like quick, and I don't see a connection between these characters. But of course, that's not really what the book is supposed to be about, I guess. I mean, it has to do with the plot, but it's not the central plot line. So he's trying to figure out who murdered her sister, basically, and I don't know. After that, there's like, at one point, something happens, and it's like the rest of the book is just, there were parts that I skimmed honestly towards the end because it was like, I don't get why this has to be so much of the story. It's just so long, and it doesn't appeal to me. And like there's these weird things that come up, and it's like, why is this here? And I don't know. It was okay. It was okay. But I don't know if this is one that I would really recommend. Not saying it's bad, of course. There's probably people out there who really liked this. I'm just not one of them. So I don't know. This one's kind of a miss for me also. Okay, next I have The Other by Thomas Tryon, and this is a story of twin boys named Holland and Niles, and we're kind of getting the story from Niles' perspective. He is an older person now, kind of looking back on his past and telling us a story of how he got to where he is today. Right away you kind of get that Niles is different than his brother, and Holland is very mischievous in a mean way, and Niles is not like that at all. He's sweet and quiet, but he does kind of follow along sort of with the shenanigans that Holland gets into. Not very many of the very seriously mean ones, but they're twins and they're brothers and they love each other. I feel like it would be very easy to give too much of this away, and while this is an older book and there's been a movie, maybe you've seen that and I haven't, but I don't want to give too much away because there are lots of people out there who probably haven't read this, and I will say that I did not like this, but there are lots of people who love this book, and I think I might be the minority on this one. So I can't give you too much of the plot, but this was very quiet horror, and I don't mind that so much. But in this case, it was too quiet for too long, and a lot of it was about their relationship with their family. They have a very big family, and a lot of them live together in their house. It goes into some of the family history. Niles and Holland's father has recently died in this freak farming accident, and I don't know, it was too slow for me, and the end was very, very shocking, I will admit, but the end alone couldn't really make up for the hundreds of pages that I had read before that. So I can see why this is a classic of the horror genre. However, I just couldn't dig it. And I think that you should probably, if you're intrigued by this at all, you should probably pick it up. Because like I said, I know very many people who have read this and really liked it, but it was just a little too slow for me. I could have done without a lot of the familial banter and stuff like that. I don't know. There's too much of that for me, I guess. But the end was very, very good. And man, it was very good. And I kind of guessed what was going to happen before it happened. I mean, not way, way before it happened, but like leading up to that. And you're like, oh, what's wrong with that? And you're like, oh, I was like, oh shit, I know what that is. And it was very, very shocking. So give it a try. This is one that I would recommend if you think that you would like this, because like I said, I know why I didn't like it, but that doesn't mean no one else would like it. Lastly, we have Breed by Chase Novak, and I think this is maybe my favorite of the four. However, I still rated this 3 stars because it was just okay. But this one was very strange, and I haven't really read anything like it. This is a story about a young couple named Alex and Leslie, and they are having trouble starting their family. So they've tried IVF, they've tried IUI, they're getting to the point where it's like they've exhausted their options, they've done alternate medicines, and Leslie is thinking maybe about adoption, but Alex, he comes from a very distinguished, successful lineage, and he's very old-fashioned in his ways, and he wants his own genetics to carry on as heirs. And so as a last-ditch effort, they find this doctor in Slovenia, and he does very well, let's just say that the people they get the recommendation from are very hush-hush about what exactly he does, but that it's a 100% chance that Leslie will become pregnant afterwards. So they travel to this doctor, and it is very weird. And I think that's where I will stop, maybe? Or no, I mean, I'll tell you, she ends up getting pregnant. I think I won't tell you what exactly happens at this doctor's office because it's very strange. And I think it's very interesting, and it's better if you read it, I think, than listen to me tell you about it. So they end up, it like fast forwards again to where the children are 10 years old now, and they've had twins named Adam and Alice, and lots of A's in this story. And the home that they live in is very strange. They do understand that it is different than the way that other children are raised, but they don't really understand why. They have to be very quiet about their family life. They are locked in their rooms at night. They can never have friends over. They don't even have, I mean, coming from a prominent family, Alex and Leslie had been wealthy, but their wealth is slowly diminished because they can no longer go into work. So the house is kind of ramshackle. The nice furniture that they have is threadbare and very messed up. I don't know. So Adam and Alice recognize, like I said, that this is not normal, but it's just the life that they have. And one night, Alex is using one of his baby monitors to listen in on his parents in the kitchen, and he hears something very weird, and I don't know if I should tell you. Probably not then. But the things that happened to their parents is like, they've become kind of like beastly, and it's very interesting, and they're kind of like losing their faculties as humans a little bit. Like they're not able to use their words correctly. A lot of it is like, it's almost like cavemen talk sometimes, like be scared and stuff like that. Or I guess what we would imagine Neanderthals using English to sound like. So it's, that part is a little bit eerie sometimes, because it's like, the way the author writes it, it's like so nonchalant, like this is just what they're doing, and it kind of catches you off guard, which I really liked. However, there is kind of like The Damned, there's a large part in the end where it's like, I don't know, I don't want to give too much away in case you want to read this, I guess, but it's just like the same thing for so long, and these characters are just repeating this thing for over and over and over again, and I don't know. It was not very exciting. It ended up being very tedious, I think, towards the end, which is a bummer because I really like the idea of this story. So I don't know, maybe give this one a try, but just know that I didn't think the end was very spectacular at all. Yeah, this one is more recent. This was published in 2012. And the writing is simplistic in a nice way. It's very fast-paced, but it's not like too easy, I guess. I don't know. It's just right. It works as a fast-paced book until you get to the ending, and then it's kind of a slog. But so I wouldn't say I don't recommend this, but I think it's up to you to decide whether you want to read it. Yeah, that's it. Those are my 4 books featuring twins. That's all I have for you though. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Leave me a comment if you have any opinions on these, I guess. I'm really curious for the people who have read the other, what you thought about it. Because, I mean, that ending was great. And I can't imagine how many pearls were clutched when that book first came out. Like, because obviously nowadays we are almost saturated with things that are shocking to be shocking, and I can't imagine reading the ending of the other in a time where things like that didn't normally happen. It'd be crazy. So let me know. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys in another video soon. But that's all I have for you. Thank you. Goodbye.